Hello friends, it's Nikki and welcome back to my messy bookshelf. So today I am here with my bookshelf tour. I have been procrastinating this video because I knew it would take forever to get through and I knew that my shelves were a mess, but I have finally decided to film this video. I have gotten a request to share some of my knickknacks on my shelf as well, so I do touch on some of those. And I have split this video into two parts because it was going to be well over an hour. So I know a lot of people said they'd prefer one long video rather than a bunch of small parts. So I did film it all at once, but I have split it into two parts just because I don't know if my laptop can handle uploading a video over an hour. So here we are going to get into part one. And if you hear random noises in the background, my pets are around and my daughter is playing her video game Stardew Valley in the background in the same room. So I apologize. Hello, Bella. And yeah, let's get into part one. So this is what it looks like when you turn the corner from my front door and you see the first room here on the left is my little library, my messy little library. And I realize maybe it's not like super messy, but I think when you see how my books are organized, you will see that it is quite messy because there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to it. I have my books loosely organized into genre, but as I get more books, things get mixed in. So I will share the things that I have as, I had a request for a bookshelf knickknack tour as well, so I think I will also touch on the random knickknacks that I have on my shelves and my desk. So this is what it looks like, and I have here a small shelf of middle grade and some weights on the floor. And then through that door is my living room, which is why Bella is always able to get here so quickly when she pops in my videos. Yes, this picture right here, I thought I would touch on this as well. This is actually a seal from the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and my great-grandfather drew this. He was a draftsman and he used to draw you know, maps and official things for the government in Puerto Rico when he was alive. And okay, I'm trying to figure out where to start. Let's take a look. I don't know whether it's better to start with nonfiction or to start with fantasy sci-fi. You can see down here we have our handsome cookie boy.
And then when you come over here,
Oh, and Princess Donut is laying here as well. So since I'm over here, I guess I'll kind of give a brief overview of what we have going on here. So it's a bit messy in this corner. I have some Navy paraphernalia from when I was in the Navy and all the stuff I got for retirement and all of that. Here is mostly reference books, and this box, which was a gift when I retired, was a box that I've been using for storing my unhauls, but you can see some random stuff has made it in there. And yes, I have a trident. My comfy reading chair, that is also another place that Bella likes to sit when I am filming videos or doing homework. So on the left here, we have nonfiction. So nonfiction, and then on the top there are, of course, many Legos and other pop culture things and some meaningful things as well. So here on the left, as I said already, we have nonfiction, and at the top I have my Bibles And I also have my Christian nonfiction over there in the corner too, as well. So there's some Christian nonfiction over here, and then a lot of Bibles. Actually, this one I used to have on display, but this one is a Bible that I bought in Jerusalem. I was fortunate to be able to travel a lot when I was in the Navy, so I picked up a lot of random touristy items. So this is a Bible that is made out of olive wood, and it has some sand from the Holy Land. So I like having that up there. I used to have my mother's ashes up there as well. Moving on down, I'm not going to share every single book, but I'll kind of show an overview. I have a random bust of Alexander the Great from when I was in, I can't remember if it was Crete or Cyprus, but I went to both places and picked up some random knickknacks. I have my stamp kit here. Move that out of the way. So this is history. So I have a lot of history books here. A lot of British and the UK history, because when I first went to school, I was obsessed with, of course, like everyone else, the Tudors, but early modern England, and that was where I focused in a lot of my history classes. So it became a love of mine. And yeah, I love Alison Ware, and I have not read this book. I need to. I think someone just read this. I think it was Melinda that just read this and liked it. So some ancient history right there. I really like Susan Wise Bauer. And Barbara Mertz, Temples, Tombs, and Hieroglyphs. I got this for Christmas. This is actually the same person who wrote the Amelia Peabody mystery stories, and her pen name for those, I think, is Elizabeth Peters. And I love those. She was a real-life archaeologist, so I'm looking forward to that one. Some random, Knights Templar stuff, some sort of funnier books here. These are all about royal scandals and sharing little snippets of history in a funny way. I have some more Alison Ware here. I loved these two. Is it Antonia Fraser? I think it's Antonia Fraser. I like her books as well. Very interesting and easy to read nonfiction. And then we move on to some other history as well. Have Marie Antoinette. I can't remember if I read that one, but I have read a lot on her as well. And then we move on to the 1619 Project, which I have not read, and then a book about Frederick Douglass, which I am really looking forward to. I've really formed an obsession. I really am fascinated by him as a person, and I admire him very much. So, moving on down, we have... what do we have here? Some mythology. I have this one from Stephen Fry, and he has another one called Heroes, which I did listen to, but I did not purchase it. Edith Hamilton mythology, that's a classic. And then I have some other countries, other cultures' myths as well, because obviously I have mostly Greek mythology. And then moving on down, this is sort of one of my loves as well. We have a lot of seafaring history, and it is, yes, a love of mine. I purchased this one, Pacific Crucible, which is about World War II, because it's the same author as, oh my goodness, why am I having brain farts? Same author who wrote Six Frigates, Ian Toll. And Six Frigates is about the first 6 ships in the American Navy during the Revolution. And this was a fast-paced, really entertaining read, and I loved it. This Earthly Globe. I really, really enjoyed this one as well. This was a Venetian geographer who was trying to create the first accurate map of the globe, and very fascinating. I really, really love this. I love maps and I love seafaring. The Wager. This is definitely a fast-paced and entertaining read. I loved The Wager. Lots of mutiny and just adventure on the high seas. And yeah, if you're looking for a very entertaining nonfiction to read, I would suggest that one. Left 4 Dead I have not read yet. I have not read these either. Here we have Endurance, which is about the ill-fated voyage of the Endurance, which was captained by Sir Ernest Shackleton. And I absolutely loved this book. Probably my top nonfiction ever. If not, it's definitely up there, top 5. And then I went on to read Sir Ernest Shackleton's own account of the same expedition, and great as well. A lot of the same, obviously, the same material covered in there. Sea of Glory by Nathaniel Philbrick. This is about the Age of Discovery, and I am looking forward to getting to this one. The Heart of the Sea, which is about the whale ship, assuming USNS Essex, and this is the ship that the Pequod was based on, if I'm not mistaken, in Moby Dick, so have not read that one yet. Longitude, oh my goodness, this was a fascinating read. This was about the quest to figure out how to calculate longitude, because obviously in times past they could calculate latitude, but they could not calculate longitude, and it was a game changer for navigation at sea. Over the Edge of the World, which was about Magellan's circumnavigation of the globe. I actually have the Order of Magellan. They gave us some certificates when we circumnavigated the globe, and the name was the Order of Magellan. Random Knickknack, Broken Clock that I got in Singapore. Moving on, we have The Travels of Marco Polo, which I have never gotten all the way through, even though I enjoy it every time I dive into it. So one of these days, I really, really need to get through this book. Great Journeys in History. I mean, I love epic quests and exploration. Mayflower, I read this one. It was very good. There were some dry parts, but I really did enjoy learning more about the early days when the settlers came over and settled here in America, and the horrible relations that they had with the native people who were here. And, you know, I know growing up as a child, I always got a certain narrative in school about the first Thanksgiving, and it wasn't like that, you know? And then this one I'm looking forward to, A Short History of Seafaring, What's Not to Love. The Art Thief, which was a very fast-paced and entertaining story about a man who stole many different priceless items from different museums and got away with it for a very long time. It was very fast-paced. And then David Gran, what is this? The Lost City of Z. I purchased this one because I loved The Wager so much. And if they were the same size, I would have the author, both of their books together. And yeah, I don't know why this guy is not with these. See, we're finding a mess here. So let's move on down. I have a little bit of double stacking going on. down here, and let's move a candle. I have the random knickknack that's still in plastic, full of sand. And down here I have a lot of, I guess, exploration about different cultures and religion and how humanity expanded around the globe. And then I have some language stuff, some language books. I'm actually really looking forward to getting to this one, Plagues and People. Where are we? I have this Trejo book by Danny Trejo about his life, written in Spanish. And I was looking up so many words that I set it aside for a while and didn't pick it back up. So, random anxiety book and The Man Who Loved Books Too Much. So, have not read those. Rare Tongues. I think I'm gonna unhaul this. Might as well pull some books off the shelf while I'm here. I really enjoyed this one, The Power of Babel. John McWhorter. I've listened to a few of his lectures. If you like languages, he's a great person to listen to. Midnight in Chernobyl. I really enjoyed that one. It was about the meltdown in the power plant. What else have I read from here? I did read Cosmos and A Brief History of Time and My Life in France. Bella, you are shaking the chair. What? And then I picked up these two because I wanted some more like cooking related nonfiction, and I still haven't read them. I just loved this one so much. This is My Life in France, about Julia Child's introduction into cooking when she moved to France. And I loved it so much, I wanted more books like that, but I guess I've been scared to dive into those ones. So let's go on down. All right, moving on down, I have some books on education and reading. This one, The Well-Educated Mind, let me switch hands here. The Well-Educated Mind by Susan Wise Bauer and her mother. I think of Jessie Wise, I think is the mom's name. They wrote this together. And this one, they wrote this one together. Okay. This one is about, raising your kids sort of with a more classical education. And this one is about sort of getting an education yourself, self-educating, like a self-curriculum. And this is sort of what inspired my 50 Before 50 project. Really enjoyed those. I love these books about sharing the love of reading with children. Loved those. How to Read Literature Like a Professor, that's a classic. How to Raise a Reader. Of course, Stephen King. And then randomly, I have some other books thrown in here as well. Like, I Don't Know Why Silk is there. I have not read that. And then a book I DNF'd last year about Keith Hernandez, who was a famous Met and is one of our he is famous, but he is one of our favorite announcers for the New York Mets now. And my daughter always cracks me up because every time she looks at this shelf, she tells me that looks like Daddy, her dad, and my husband. So makes us laugh because
it does.
It okay.
Look, this looks like him.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then some sort of nutrition and exercise books. Random book I just picked up recently about the character Miss Marple, which I look forward to. Haven't figured out where to put it, but I do need to purge this somewhat. Some cleaning, some habits, habit books, and yeah, some interesting nonfiction. And then the bottom is going to be kind of hard to get to, but I am not going to pull all of those books off. I have some gardening books, some baking books, some oversized books, Randomly Nuclear War, which was fantastic. Fantastic. I read this right when I was going through my little apocalyptic and dystopian phase at the beginning of this year, and I read a bunch of dystopian novels and then this, and it's perfect. And then yeah, some finance books. I have a lot of Dave Ramsey books. And then some naval history books that are randomly down there. Those are like work-related books. And yeah, that rounds out my nonfiction shelf. So there you have it. So next we'll be moving on to the classics shelf. So gonna be moving on to my classic shelves, but I thought I would share what I have up there. So I have a craft project that I had to do when I was in the Navy. It is a replica of a ship. Back there, I probably should have gotten a chair to pull that down. That is a mask, a Venetian mask. I cannot reach that. That I got in Venice for Carnival. It is not a real, like, expensive, it was a cheap tourist thing from a stall, but yes, I have a Venetian mask. I'll see if I can pull it down later. I have some scrapbooking paper in there, but I also have some newspapers from different places that I went, you know, over the years in different languages. I always find that very interesting. Some 3D puzzles of Hogwarts that my father got me for Christmas, and the sorting hat that belongs to Bella, my daughter. Alright, top shelf of our classic shelf. I have this puzzle that I still have not done. That was a gift from my daughter, or excuse me, my son's girlfriend. The first time she met me, she brought me this because she had seen my channel and knew I loved Dracula. So, can you hold on to that, Bella? So, yeah, this is kind of high for me. So, I have a few different editions here. I like to keep like editions together, even if I have to separate multiple books from the same author. So, I think, yeah, she got me that as well. My son's girlfriend. Here we have some classic horror tales, Don Quixote, which I love. And then these editions are very beautiful, and I have not read from them. I've read these two books, but not from these editions, and I have not read that yet. I have read a few stories out of here, and I did read from this edition, the beginning of this year. Of course, we have Dracula. These editions, they're like very adorable, but they're those kind of material that it's very hard to keep the book open. So I am thinking I may unhaul these, because even though they're pretty, they're not comfortable to read if you have another edition of the book that is more readable. So I do have other editions of all of these. We'll leave that there for now. And then I have Orgullo y Prejuicio, which is Pride and Prejudice in Spanish, which I was reading from in July. Some other editions of, I think these are also Barnes & Noble editions. These are as well, but these are just very lovely paperback editions from Barnes & Noble. I have this Puffin and Bloom edition of Anne of Green Gables that I have yet to read. I have never read Anne of Green Gables, and I need to do that. And then I have a bunch of the leather-bound children's collectible editions from Barnes & Noble. And I love picking up those when they're on sale because they often go on sale. And then a random pair of baby shoes of mine that my mother had dipped in copper when I was a baby. I guess that was a thing back in the 80s. All right. Moving on down. Let's move some of this. I have this lovely Stories for Seafarers set. I love this so much. Probably be reading some of these in September. This random vase with some fake flowers. And then these are the Mina Lima illustrated editions. They have sort of, it's not exactly pop-up, but there's like interactive things that you can fold out, and very, very lovely. If I had more than one hand, I would show you. But we did read out of this edition, my daughter and I. Beauty and the Beast, same edition. And then these are all of my Barnes & Noble leather-bound collectible editions. And they are very affordable. For such lovely books, you know, they're often on sale for $20 or so. So I really enjoy these. I have not read all of them. I have not read Lovecraft. I have not read Indiana Jones or the Arabian Nights. I have read some of the stories in here. Have read those, have read those, have read those, have read those. Have not read The Wizard of Oz. I've read Wicked and the entire series, but not the original Wizard of Oz. I've read all of those, and still have not gotten to Dune. Some random plates that I picked up. I think that was from Crete. I have lost the little stands that they go on, so they just sit here. Alrighty. And then also from Crete, this is the Sun Disc. And then American Gods I have read, but not Anansi Boys. And I have read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and the Iliad and the Odyssey. So a lot of these I have read, so I am pretty happy about that. All right, moving down to my Penguin Black Spines. I have two, what do you call these? They're not steins, right? Big cups from the Renaissance Fair from when I got married. My husband and I got married at the Renaissance Fair. So that is the story behind these cups. We drank mead at our wedding out of those two cups. Picture of my late mother. Is she beautiful? Okay, so we have all of my Penguin Black Spines. I hate that they... I feel like I need one more book so that they will stay straight up, but they're always slanted like this. But yeah, you can see all of these bad boys. This was the edition I read for my read of Moby Dick. Wuthering Heights, which is on my 50 before 50, so I will be getting back to this, as well as David Copperfield. A Room with a View. I soft DNF'd that one. For some reason, I couldn't get into it when I was reading that. Really enjoyed The Age of Innocence. Have not read Heart of Darkness. Am working on one of these for Short Story Summer. And of course, this gigantic tome, which I just loved so much, The Count of Monte Cristo. Valette, I have read this one, and I still, to this day, don't know how I feel about it. Jane Eyre, of course. Love Jane Eyre. Turn of the Screw, I didn't love it. It was okay. It wasn't as moody and creepy as I wanted it to be. Some more ghost stories. Another edition of the Divine Comedy. Another copy of Arabian Nights. Pamela, which we shall not even speak of. Gulliver's Travels, which I would like to read this year. Hopefully. Well, maybe not this year, maybe next year. Don Quixote, of course. One of my loves. Silas Marner, would like to read more George Eliot. What do we have? Nicholas Nickleby. The Warden, which I recently read and loved. The Time Machine, another one that I love. A Journal of the Plague Year, which I have started repeatedly and never finished, so need to get there one day. Another edition of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I need to read. Fear and Trembling. This was for school a while back. And then the 1818 text of Frankenstein. So these are all of my Penguin Black Spines, and I just think that they are very aesthetically pleasing on the shelf. All right, we're going to be moving down. And I have my other dog's Ashes. My ghosty boy. Let me move that and I'll be right back. Okay, moving on, I have my Barnes & Noble Classics paperback editions. I really love these. These are just about as pleasant to read as the Penguin Black Spines. They are floppy enough. They are, like, the text and the font is fairly easy on the eyes, and yeah, I think they look really nice on the shelf as well. So you can tell they all belong together, but I love that they do have different colors. So love these as well. So yeah, War and Peace. Brothers Karamazov is one that I have on my 50 before 50 list. The Woman in White. I know everybody loves this one by Wilkie Collins, but I honestly loved The Moonstone better than The Woman in White. I absolutely loved The Moonstone. So you can see the other titles I have here. This one went with me out to sea, and I remember just laying outside on the ship reading this, and I absolutely loved it. War of the Worlds. Still a favorite of mine. Have not read The Scarlet Letter. I want to read The Three Musketeers because I loved The Count of Monte Cristo so much, but I fear that it is going to be a major disappointment. The Jungle Books, I started, and I couldn't get into it. I found it really slow to start, and I'll have to give that another try. And then it seems I have another edition of David Copperfield, so I probably should unhaul one of them, but we'll see. I'm not against having multiple editions of certain books. Usually, I like to have multiple editions of books that I like, but seeing as I never read it before, it's interesting that I have two copies. Ethan Frome. I need to read this because I think I have read all of her other novels, so not sure. Don't quote me on that. And then, okay, we have Herodotus, the Histories, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I really do actually want to read this one. Wives and Daughters was one I absolutely loved. I read this one, I think, last year. And then My Bondage and My Freedom by Frederick Douglass was fantastic. Fantastic. He gives his whole life story in this book, and it was chilling. It was just incredibly moving and also very fast-paced because he went through a lot. And yeah, Frankenstein. So moving down, I have a few more of those. Really enjoy picking this one up every holiday season. And then I don't think I've read, I have read Vanity Fair and Villette. And then we have the Oxford Classics. I really like these ones as well, the Oxford World Classics. But I don't have too many of them. So I really want to get to this one. And then, oh my goodness, love, love, love The Great Gatsby. Read it for the second time this year. And then my old battered copy of Jane Eyre. Read this narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass this year. And honestly, it was a lot of the same material covered in My Bondage and My Freedom, but this one was more of a summary of his life rather than all of the details. And then, of course, I love the Pickwick Papers. I love the Pickwick Papers. Another copy of it, and then Eudora Welty. And then some short stories. Okay. Moving on to the bottom shelf here. A lot of secondhand books, some animal fur. And you can see what I have here. This one is really interesting. This is a manga of Jane Eyre. So it's written exactly like a manga. So it's really just the dialogue. I read Anna and the King of Siam a year ago, 2 years ago. This edition of Gilgamesh I read and I hated it, so. Madame Bovary, I really enjoyed that edition. And of course, Frances Hodgson Burnett. I love her stories. So, we're gonna move on to the next classic shelf, if I can stand up here. So I have a skinny shelf. And you can see up here I have, what are these? English Library, I think. And then I don't remember what these ones are called. Vintage Classics. More Divine Comedy. More Pride and Prejudice. I have Gone with the Wind and Scarlet, both of which I loved. And then moving down, I have a tiny globe. Someone asked me if I had a globe behind me, and I said, yes, I do. This is a little box that looks like a book that my grandmother gave to me. It had some of her costume jewelry in it. Mary Ann, I still need to read. I really did enjoy My Cousin Rachel. So, have not read this one, but really enjoyed this one, though it is a movie cover. Love both of these. I read Great Expectations, and I was not blown away the way everyone else was, so not sure if I need to give that another go. And then some Ghost Stories by Edith Wharton, and here I have my Penguin Deluxe classics. Tale of Genji. One that has defeated me multiple times. I would like to finally get through that book, and it is on my 50 before 50, but I think that is one of the ones that will defeat me because I get so fed up with Genji himself. Kristen Lavransdatter, also on my 50 before 50. These 3 novels of Edith Wharton, loved all of those. And I have some Shirley Jackson. Still need to get through Les Mis. And Middlemarch, that is the edition I read back when, what was it, like 2 years ago? Okay, moving down. Some Dostoevsky, some Ray Bradbury, a couple of children's classics, and Dracula again. And another, is this my only copy of Bleak House? This might be my only copy of Bleak House. All right. And then this one I really want to read. With me being such a lover of Gothic fiction, it's a travesty I haven't read that. Animal Farm in 1984, of course. I am really excited about this because it is a novel by Elizabeth Gaskell that I have not read. And I forgot to mention Beloved, which I still have not read because I am scared. The Castle of Otranto, that was a good short Gothic story. And I really enjoyed The Road. And some more Dostoevsky. And some oversized books. One that I talk about far too often. And then, let's see, H.G. Wells short story collection, which I have dipped into for Short Story Summer.